Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Comic Vault. It is I, Captain Logan, and joining me, as always, is Austin, the Day Ghost. It is October. It's Halloween season, and Austin has picked a horror book for us. The thing I picked last week wasn't, like, especially Halloween-y. Like, I guess somebody died. But I thought of that after we reviewed...
There's like a monster, but...
Well, there's a monster in Death of Superman, but we were reviewing just the aftermath of it. So, like, I was thinking about that when we did Funeral for a Friend. I was like, I should have picked something that was a little bit more Halloween-y. So the next thing I'm going to pick will actually fit better, but we'll be doing it in November. So, whatever. I'll make up for it in the back end.
Close enough.
I'll make up for it after the back end. Anyway,
Exactly.
Tonight we're tackling Creature from the Black Lagoon, Lives. One of my only complaints about this is that Lives is not in all capital letters, Austin. I just want that. Lives! But I love the exclamation point. That is wonderful.
Oh, yeah. It's perfect. It's so, like, just pulpy.
Yeah, and everything about this book is kind of pulpy, but also updated. We'll talk about that. But like, it's got that vibe, but it's also real. It's like throwback to things that throw back to that, if that makes any sense at all. Like, I was getting a real X-Files kind of vibe from this.
Which makes a lot of sense, because this is originally a 50s movie, and this moves it up to the 80s, which is when we started remaking a lot of old 50s sci-fi horror things. So it kind of makes sense to do like a throwback to throwbacks.
Yeah, that does. I'm glad you said that. Well, and like, you could even see this as like almost a Twilight Zone episode. I like if you're just thinking of this as like its own standalone thing. Obviously, it's a sequel to something. Yeah. But anyway, I'm glad that you mentioned that it's supposed to be the 80s, because it feels pretty ambiguous time period wise. Like, maybe it's flat out said somewhere and I missed it, but I wasn't even thinking about time period at all.
Yeah, they do a really good job at it, because it's never like, oh, the 80s, like we tend to do a lot.
There's just no cell phones or anything, but I didn't even think about it.
The only place you really get it is the scientist character goes, 30 years ago, I got attacked by this creature, and that would place it in the 80s, about 84.
Yeah, well, I did notice that, but I wasn't sure if this was necessarily a direct sequel or if we had, like, kind of slid the timeline up or something. I don't know. I should say at the start of this, because, of course, this was Austin's pick. I know nothing at all about Creature from the Black Lagoon, except I've seen, like, what that monster looks like, and I always thought it was a really cool design, and for some reason, I wish I'd fished it out today. I forgot all about it until 5 minutes before we started broadcasting. I have a plush of the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a really cool plush. I wish I had it in hand. I forgot all about that. But anyway, I should have watched that movie by now. It was the Universal monster that always interested me the most of the ones that I didn't see the movies of, but that's how much of not a horror and monster guy I am. I still just never bothered to seek it out. So I'm excited to finally see it. It's going to be weird doing it in this order, but
I did question it, where I was like, oh, I shouldn't do this book, because we're going to do the movie in like 2 weeks, and then I thought about it more, and I'm like, it doesn't really matter. Like, it might be interesting to look at it while we're like about to do the movie. I went like real back and forth because of that.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to have this in my back pocket going into that. Like, I'll probably be the only person on the planet that has read this and not seen that movie, and then immediately watches that movie. So I don't know, it'll be a fun perspective.
Yeah, for sure. Give us something a bit different to talk about when we talk about that.
Robert, and welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us live. If you're watching right now, feel free to interact with us as much as you want to. Robert, I do enjoy the original sequel, Revenge of the Creature, well enough, but this comic was pretty cool. Was a pretty cool alternative continuation to the original film. I didn't know there was a sequel. I thought that was the only thing there ever was.
Yeah, so it's originally a trilogy. If you were to look at the first two, the first one is the Skull Island section of King Kong. 2 is the New York section of King Kong.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Revenge of the Creature is also, I think, the first movie Clint Eastwood was ever in. I know he's in it, and it's very early, but I think it's his first movie.
So there's a third one even.
Yeah, the third one is The Creature Walks Among Us, which is about, I think it's like scientists take the creature and they make it more human. So it's like a fish head on like a person's body, and he like can't go in the water anymore.
That's
It's like a
wild.
whole thing with that. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'm
Mm.
excited to finally be introduced to the movie. Now, remind me in our schedule, Austin. We've not published our schedule yet, but is that the first thing we're doing?
No, I think that's in the second week.
The second
I
week.
think
Okay,
that's
cool.
that's maybe the Tuesday of the second week.
Okay, feel free to keep your order, but it almost would have been kind of neat to set up the very first thing we did with this. Like I didn't even think
Hmm.
of that, but that's totally fine if you want to keep that order.
I mean, I don't mind moving it around. It's all good.
We could talk about it. This is not
Hmm.
important to anybody else right now. But quick plug for that. We are starting Spooky Mania next Monday night. So we're going to have a normal week this week, and then we are axing our regular schedule for the last 2 weeks of October, and we're going to be watching 10 horror and Halloween related movies, spooky movies, if you will, blind. So no prep at all. Some things Austin has seen that I picked, but I've not seen any of the things that he picked. So it'll be an education for me, and so he'll do a lot more of the talking during those as I try to pay attention to the creature from the Black Lagoon, etc., etc. But I'm
And
excited
how
about
it
it.
lives, if you will.
But I think you've only seen like two of mine. I think I'm still gonna get to introduce like three
Yeah, I
things,
think something like
two
that.
or
Yeah, I
three, I
think.
forget.
Yeah, I want to say two, but it might be three.
You know what? You're right.
Yeah.
It is. You've definitely seen at least three of mine.
Hmm.
Now that I'm thinking about
Well,
it,
one of them's 28 Days Later,
and you've seen that.
which I've only seen with people. So like, I also feel like I kind of haven't seen it.
Oh, okay,
So
cool.
it's kind of in like that weird middle ground.
And it's funny because you picked Christine, and my mother. We'll get to Creature here in a second. My mother lent me that movie years ago. I think I still have her DVD sitting around somewhere, and I never remembered to watch it. We're talking
Mhm.
probably 15 years ago. She lent me that movie,
Yeah.
and I've never sat down to watch it.
Well, and that's one I'll have a lot to say about the book too, because I've both read it and seen it.
Cool. That's another one that I've always been to look at that I just haven't. Anyway, Austin, give us a little bit of background about what Image and Skybound are doing with the Universal Monster books. This is real recent. This came out last year, and tell us where this falls in the sequence of the ones they've published so far.
Yeah, so yeah, Skybound gets the Universal Monsters license, and one of the cool things with it so far, so the only thing that really connects them is they're all four-issue minis. That's kind of the one thing so far that unites all of them.
This
But outside
reads
of that,
quick, by the way. This is a swift
very quick.
half hour, 45-minute read, if that.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of them are maybe you could say like all of them are very like very quick reads, but very like just like vibrant, nice art too. Um,
You got to make yourself
they're just
slow
like really well
down
put together.
with all the
Mhm.
visual storytelling. There's lots of pages with little to no words, and you gotta remind yourself that you're supposed to be imagining you're watching a movie. You gotta really slow yourself down because it's easy to breeze through it. I read it twice.
Oh, okay, nice, yeah. And it's my understanding, I think that Renfield movie is part of this deal because Kirkman is the story by credit for that. So there's like something with that too.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But basically, for all of these, they kind of just let writers come in and pitch things. So none of the books are really similar in approach so far. So, like, Dracula is the first one, and Dracula is like a retelling of that original movie, but like specifically more focused on Renfield. Like, it's that movie, but like the focus is just different. And then this is it ignores the sequels, jumps ahead, and is a sequel to that first movie. Um, then Frankenstein uh, is like kind of retelling the first movie and also really like adding to things before it at the same time. It's kind of doing both at the same time and telling like an in between quel through it. It's almost like a Lion King 1.5.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Exactly. And then The Mummy is more of just like a straight remake of The Mummy, just kind of focusing in on what worked about that and cutting some of the dollar stuff. And The Invisible Man so far it seems to be kind of a prequel to The Invisible Man. So they're all just very different approaches, which I think is neat too.
Well, and as you've been reviewing Invisible Man on my late night comic show, you've been describing that almost like a reimagining.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like when you
because
say
I see The
prequel, it
Invisible
seems
Man.
like their approach is different than what the movies was, or at least from your personal interpretation.
Yeah, well, because the way it is, so it is like a prequel in story, but at the same time, it has almost like a The Shining thing, where I think that original material, with the movie, not specifically the book, because none of these go back to the books when they're based on the books. Like, Frankenstein swaps the character Henry and Victor, like their names, and the Skybound comic will honor that. Like, we're going back to the Universal movie. Um, so you have kind of the Shining thing where the Invisible Man is more tragic as a figure in that movie, and then in the book they interpret it as like, I don't know, he was just kind of always crazy, in the same way
Which
that the
sounds really
Shining movie
entertaining. I want to
does.
read that.
That's really cool,
Well,
and
I
that's the
was
first returning writer because Tinian's done that and Dracula.
oh, okay. And has Kirkman done any of them yet?
No.
Okay. I was surprised by that since it is Skybound. And Braden asked how these tie into the rest of Skybound. Just that is the imprint. That's the publisher. So
Hmm.
Kirkman, I'm sure was instrumental in getting his hands on that license and is probably, uh, probably is overseeing the whole thing, but he hasn't written any yet.
Yeah, as far as I know, all he's really done with this material is just that Renfield movie.
Okay. So important to note that Skybound doesn't mean a continuity. It like
Hmm.
they have a Transformers GI Joe shared universe right now, and that has a bunch of books roped into a universe. But they're publishing other stuff, and it sounds
Yeah,
like
like they
these
have just
don't necessarily connect at all. But I guess they could if they wanted them to. Just like the Universal movies do have some crossover, and people kind of think of that as like the first shared universe if I'm
yeah. I'm
understanding right.
really
Or is that more of like the
no, you're right.
Hammer or is that more of like the Hammer horror movies?
No, it's more Universal. But I am interested to see how that goes because we have the Wolfman is kind of the last one, unless they do Phantom of the Opera, I guess. It's kind of the last big
That would be
one,
interesting in comic form.
and then, yeah, exactly. And then, like, I don't know if they're gonna do sequels, like other reimaginings, or if we'll start to do, yeah, some of the more like combined things, like what they're gonna do with it. So I'm very interested.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear you say none of the others so far have been really true flat out sequels like this is. I thought that there would be more of like a formula or a mandate of what they were supposed to be. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, it seems like the only real mandate is just they have to be 4 issues. It seems to kind of be the only thing.
And they have to be connected to those movies in some way.
Yeah,
It's got to be
exactly. Like
those
you're adapting
designs
the
and
Universal monsters.
yeah,
Yeah.
and at least with this, not that I've sat through that movie before, but just with what little I know about it and like seeing a couple of scenes when I was a kid, probably, it certainly feels like it's trying to be close to like the tone and the atmosphere of that, but just just modernized.
Yeah, and like it can get like a bit more like violent and things like that. But it is staying true to that original movie at the same time.
In setting it in the '80s, do you feel like this is trying to be what an '80s sequel would have been, or do you feel like it reads like if you were to take this as storyboards for a movie? Does it read more like a modern film set in the 80s?
Probably somewhere in the middle, where like you can probably still tell that it was made now, but like probably something akin to what we would make then, or maybe like in the '90s, like kind of Candyman uh type thing, where you have this character that you're kind of watching investigate things, like that kind of a movie too.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of later influences. Like I was seeing a little Silence of the Lambs in it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, there's definitely some of that. It's like in a way, it like can't fully be, what we would make in the '80s, but uh, definitely like an approximation, I would say.
Yeah, it certainly. I was certainly imagining more of a like modern directing style with it. And the whole time I was going, I just want to see this treated as storyboards turned into a film. I
Mhm.
and it looks great on the page. It works really well as a comic. I don't mean to say that it's not utilizing this medium. It's got awesome panel layouts, as you can see just from the very first page. It definitely feels
Mhm.
enough like a comic book. But it's paced like a film. It reads real cinematic, and that four-issue structure uh, like really gives you that feeling of an hour and a half. I mean, I realize, like I said, it reads faster than that, but it's easy
Mhm.
to imagine the shots taking their time more, and it feels paced like just a solid hour and a half horror flick.
Well, especially with this, you look at some of the panels and you go, okay, if these were moving, like you would hold on this like specific shot for a little bit. Like this is like very atmospheric and would maybe be a couple minutes.
This is probably one of those comics that reads really well. And again, I love the panel layouts. I would prefer to read this the way I read it, and I did read this in digital. But I bet digital panel to panel, this reads really well.
Yes, absolutely. Which I should also mention, because you said that, for whatever reason, issue two is like broken on mobile. It works on my iPad, which I didn't know because when I originally read it, it was on my phone. Um, but you like can't go panel to panel on it, and they just
Oh,
never fixed it.
that's no good.
Um, but at least you can do it on other devices. But it is kind of wonky for that.
Let me read Friendly Yo-Yo's super chat
Yeah,
real quick. He's going to derail us for a second, and then
yeah, no worries.
I'll ask you to give us a plot synopsis. Friendly Yo-Yo gives us a $2 super chat. Thanks a lot, man. He says favorite horror comic, Williamson's Dark Ride. In my opinion, I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I've not read that, but I'll have to check that one out.
I would assume if it's
Mine's
Williamson, it's probably recent. Or probably within the
yeah,
last
yeah,
10 years. I mean, Josh
I would think
Williamson's
so.
been around. If that's who we're talking about, if it's Joshua Williamson, he's been around for a couple of decades now, probably at least 15 years.
Mhm. Yeah, so yeah, there's a chance it's like an older one, but I also assumed it was something newer.
But as soon as he said that,
I'm
I
gonna
was like,
be
I
real
bet that's in the
basic.
last 5 years. But and his
I'm gonna
star
be
has been rising just in the last few years.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's like really taken off
You've read a
at this
lot more
point.
than I have, horror comic wise. So unless I
Mhm.
just go to one of the couple of Spawn things that is halfway decent, I have to think for a minute. I do like some of that first Bendis run on Sam and Twitch. But uh, what is the first thing that springs to your mind, having read a lot more than I have?
Uh, just being really basic, and to pull an Alan Moore, like you can only read it next to a fireplace and whatnot. It's like old EC comics, like it's Tales from the Crypt. Like that stuff is so fun to go back to. Um, like that's probably my like big answer.
Obviously, I like Walking Dead a lot, but I've not finished it. So I mean, like, I've read the first three or four trade links. So
Yeah,
I'm
and
trying to think of stuff I
I've read the
full on
first trade.
finished.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
again, horror's not my go-to. So like I've read a half decent amount for the channel, I guess. But I have to go back and think of stuff that I've reviewed and uh, things people requested and stuff. But that's that's the obvious thing. Have I really read a lot? I mean, I like um I love zombies, but I've not read a lot of zombie books besides Walking Dead. So I'm trying to think of other stuff like that I've done, and I'm trying to stay away from superhero horror.
Yeah, like your Marvel zombies or something.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want to say that. That's an obvious answer.
hmm Yeah, and mine for superhero horrors, obviously. My boy right here.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, a lot of that doesn't even read like superhero horror.
No, because that just reads like a straight horror book.
A lot of that
But
just doesn't even touch superheroes. I'm sure it does
yeah,
some, but
exactly.
a lot of it, the few issues I've read don't.
Well, and the ones that go farther into the superhero stuff are like the weaker ones. So yeah, absolutely.
And like I like what little Constantine I've read, but I haven't read a ton.
hmm Yeah, for sure.
Um, Again, I haven't finished a lot. Like there are things in Why the Last Man that read real horror, but I don't think that's a flat out horror book. Um, Snyder's American Vampire is really good, but I've only read a few issues of it.
Yeah, and I read one by him not that long ago. I think it's called Witches or The Witches. It's with a Y, and that was really good.
Because I was imagining he's just doing a remake of that weird Disney 80s movie, The Witches.
Oh yeah, the Roald Dahl movie.
Yeah.
Or well, yeah. I think Zemeckis remade that. I think he's the one that
Whoa,
made the
really?
remake. But
I
I
heard
could
that
be
was
wrong.
supposed to happen. Oh, yeah, no, you're right, that did happen.
Yeah, with Anne Hathaway. Yeah, it's supposed to be horrible.
Was it, did they just put that on Disney Plus, maybe?
No. No, I'm not even sure if that's Disney. I mean, it might be.
Disney owns
I'm not
it.
sure offhand. Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, that was Disney's The Witches. Like, they own it.
Mhm. Yeah, so yeah, maybe it
Almost
was straight to streaming. I don't
almost
remember.
positive. Anyway, well, we just turned that into a Captain Logan show for 10 minutes. Let's get
Yeah.
back to
Oh,
Creature from the Black Lagoon Lives. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
no, I was just gonna say while we're on this page, the other big thing that holds these together is they all have like fantastic title pages.
Yes. No, it's really cool. You can, because of the four issue structure and the title pages, you can kind of imagine this like a little TV miniseries. I much
hmm
prefer to reimagine it in my head as a feature film, and you'd have this one shot that would give you the title, and then the rest of the way through, of course, you wouldn't have those. But as it is, it kind of reads like little 20-minute Twilight Zone episodes.
hmm Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Dracula ones I think specifically are just like fantastic works of art.
Before you get into the plot synopsis, I'm holding on this page because I just wanted to mention
Mhm.
I feel like the book is really strategic about making sure that, and maybe even the writers struggled with this a little bit, just figuring out how exactly they were gonna get this in enough. Putting in the creature iconography every so often, so we don't ever get too far away from that. And so on like the third page, you get the logo, and you've got to see an image of the creature, and they find a creative way to do it. So one of the locals is selling a bunch of sculptures of the creature. And so clearly it has been seen by enough people that everybody agrees on what it looks like, or at least whoever made these has seen it and it was really accurate with what the actual image of it is.
Yeah, I like that it's like this local legend, in this little village that we're in, where I think in like the next couple pages you have a woman that's like, oh, um, like the creature, it comes and it drowns you.
Yeah.
Like that's what it does. Like it takes you in the night or whatever, like that kind of a thing.
Yeah, and
That's cool.
having not actually seen the movie, I wasn't sure if I first read if that was supposed to be exposition or if it was unreliable. Where it's like this is this
Mhm.
lady who thinks she knows how the creature works, and then I'm armed with maybe knowledge or maybe misinformation.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's definitely like kind of unreliable. Just that, everyone in town kind of talks about, this creature that lives, in the distance. Like it's your Bigfoot type thing. Like we don't really know anything about it, but like here's things that we can kind of glean.
But there is some truth in what she's saying, even if she doesn't fully
Mhm.
understand it, because I think
Mhm.
the big takeaway we're supposed to get from that, especially retroactively once you've seen the creature, is that it's not exactly a flat out monster, or at least human beings can be as monstrous or more monstrous than it is. So when she says, she basically says it's not malicious. It doesn't really want to hurt anyone. Then she goes on to say it drowns you very quickly. Like you're like it's benign because it doesn't hurt that much when you die. And then the book it continues throughout uh, to make it to make drowning feel like the absolute worst possible way to go.
Yeah, no kidding, eh?
We just constantly get very detailed with what happens when you drown and what doesn't happen when you drown. Just taking all of the mysticism out of drowning as potentially a more peaceful way of going. I liked how I
Mhm.
liked how disturbing that was, and that was definitely part of the horror of it. And she almost
Yeah,
drowns 3 times through the course of the book.
she really
Our
just needs a
protagonist.
life jacket.
If she was just teamed up with Marty McFly this whole time, she'd be fine.
Oh yeah, exactly. His life preserver would save them. It's also universal. We can cross them over.
But I thought that was really effective from page one.
Mhm.
Just
Oh, it's a great introduction.
the water imagery and making this whole thing about uh like her kind of transformation after almost drowning. Like water is. You and I have talked a lot with stuff we've reviewed about water as a rebirth metaphor, and here it's like a real dark version of that.
Hmm.
Where like
Yeah, exactly. And it's a really good just hook at the start. Like it just really grabs you of just, oh, this person's just drowning immediately, and then we kind of break into like her trauma from this.
and it's just appropriate for the material. It's the
Mhm.
Black Lagoon. It's
Yeah.
all about water. And like all of the real disturbing horror stuff in this is gonna relate very appropriately thematically to the monster and what it may or may not be.
Hmm. Yeah, it's almost like you take the sheriff from Jaws and you like go like a bit farther with like his fear of the water and drowning.
That's a great
Uh,
point. Well, and especially
mhm.
with all of the Ahab stuff in this. Like it does that just like
Yeah.
Jaws does. With you actually have two characters that are obsessed with revenge on someone or something that almost killed them, and one is the creature, and one is a man who, by the end of the story, we find is trying to become the creature himself, and all of that. I'll have some analysis about that later. That's all thematically very interesting.
One that specifically blew my mind getting to the end of that issue originally when this first came out because I was like, oh my god, we're going to almost like a the creature walks among us place like where they turn the creature into a human type being, and I was like, I did not expect it to go to anything like that. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah, and of course, it's not the creature itself that we do that with.
Hmm.
This bad guy. So we're playing with this idea. I was gonna have you do a flat out plot synopsis. We're kind of doing synopsis as we review. But our villain in this, uh, his first name is Darwin, which is intentional, like very clearly intentional.
Oh,
Because
100%.
like I don't know if you picked up on that, but he's Darwin
Yeah, well,
Collier.
it's even It's even funnier when we get to the movie cap because the movie will open with a shot of the Earth and it talks about evolution. Like that is 100% a choice.
Like Patrick Stewart in the X-Men movies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like
That's great.
evolution.
Well, real early, I think even in the first issue, we have the doctor whose face has been ruined by the creature and who wants revenge on it. Who is, and again, we've got parallel characters that will each get their chance for revenge at the end, and they'll take surprising turns. But he suggests real early that the creature might be, he thinks, the missing link between man and monster. And I don't know if you, in. I don't know if you had the same scans that I did reading this, but there's a letter that each of the writers have in the first issue. Were you able to read those?
Yep.
And
Yeah, and I
they,
read a little bit of the letters pages too,
yeah, I did
but
not read
most of them are on
those.
Dracula, so I didn't
That's
like
why I
pay
didn't read
too
those.
close
Yeah,
attention.
because they weren't really
Yeah,
about this. But I think it's
it's more in like the
interesting.
last two.
I think it's interesting. This line has its own letters pages, and not
Hmm.
because they're only 4 issue miniseries. So when I saw letters pages, I was like, that's weird. It's a miniseries. You never see that. And then there were letters in the first issue, and I was like, well, that's weird because this hasn't come out yet, or because this hadn't come out yet. Before you get letters, and then it's for the previous series. Okay, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. They just kind of play catch up, and then usually by issue 3, you're getting letters for the actual book.
Yeah. But anyway, I brought that up because I think it's Dan Waters. Maybe it's Ram V. I can't remember which of them. This is curiously written by a dual writing team. It's a simple enough story that you wouldn't think it would take two writers. And I don't know if they just both like were talking one day and pitched this together, or why they ended up getting dual credit for this, and how much of the dialogue is one versus the other. I will say I've not read enough Ram V to know how much of him this feels like, but it does read very, very Waters to me.
I think if I remember correctly, and I could be completely wrong, but because this is going back to when this came out, I didn't look into it again, but I want to say that it's like the initial pitch and whatnot is Ramv, and then I think the actual like scripting from like panel to panel, line for line is Dan Waters, but
That
I
would
could
not
be off base on that.
surprise me at all if that's the case. But one
Hmm.
of them talks about that idea of the missing link, and particularly the idea. And it's funny because he kind of just comes right out and tells you what thematically the creature is supposed to be about. So I read this before I even read the story. So like I'm armed with this idea that this is what the
Mhm.
creature is about. But I kind of appreciated that because I hadn't seen the movie. And so
Yeah.
he says, and this didn't feel like personal interpretation. This felt like consensus of fans of this character, that the point of the
Mhm.
creature is not supposed to be the fear that we have of the unknown, but rather the fear that we have of ourselves and what we could be. And so we look at the creature and it reflects the dark side of us back at us that we don't want to see. And that
Mhm.
makes sense if the idea is we partially evolved from this creature, but somehow it's stuck around, but it's the only one of its kind now. And so you can see yourself in it, in that like it walks erect, it has arms and legs, it has some like facial features that are the expressions that are kind of human, but it lives between land and sea, and the sea is this very alien feeling part of the planet that we don't get to explore very much of. And so there's this whole alien planet inside of our world that we don't know anything about, and but we're intrinsically linked to it. And so like there's something primal about us that we don't understand, and the creature embodies that.
Mhm. Yeah, it's almost like a reverse Star Trek where it's like, hey, maybe we weren't meant to boldly go here. Like, look at the damages we've made by coming into this place we shouldn't be.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then also, if there is any of us in the creature or vice versa, maybe we're not as evolved and enlightened as we think we are. and we do that with a lot of like scary creatures with things, but the idea of it being an evolutionary link is kind of interesting, where it's like uh, it it suggests that or it reminds us anyway that we haven't been here very long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and so we're
Exactly.
pretending like look how much farther we've come than the animals, but maybe we still are really kind of just an animal species. And yeah, we have reason and stuff, but how easy is it to regress us back to that primal form? And then we realize that literally in this with our villain.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
why you see his face right here. Because he tried to kill our protagonist, and then this is foreshadowing where she looks at the creature and she sees his face in it, and we don't. And this is why I read it a second time, because all of this reads really great when you know where it's going. Where you
Yeah,
go,
I really had that.
where you go, oh, the point of this is he wants to be this creature, and by the end of the
Mhm.
story, he is more of the monster than the creature is.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. No, I really loved this reading it month to month at the time, but coming back and reading it again all together, it really hit a lot stronger, I thought. No, and that last shot with the eyes is also just a beautiful picture, just page in general. Like it's
Th-
fantastic.
this
That
one
eye
or this
shot is so
one?
just that eye one, on the last one you were just talking about. Like that eye shot at the bottom is so just like visceral, so
I'm
just real.
I'm jumping around, but something else I noticed in this was, and we'll see it a lot by the fourth issue, were eye
Yeah.
colors.
Mhm.
So, I Kate's eyes are green and like real bright green. We make a big deal out of that, which is interesting because I was trying to read while I was looking at it into what the eye colors were about. Like just now as I'm talking about it, I figured it out. So by the end of the book, she will do the surprising thing, and maybe it's not all that surprising, but it is in comparison to the guy that wants revenge on the creature, who chooses not to kill the creature because he says it's just a sad, lonely thing, and it chooses to do the humane and the more enlightened thing, right? I don't know what that guy's eye color is, by the way, but her eyes are green, and she will ultimately do the more monsterish thing, and the creature has been reflected in her eyes the whole book. And then the villain's eyes are yellow, and he wants to be the creature, and so that suggests that he is the real monster. Yellow is, just kind of a sickening color, right? And then
Mhm.
the monster's eyes are blue, and I don't know that it's suggesting that he is the most human of all of them, but
At
it
least most of like of nature, just like natural.
yeah,
Mhm.
we're doing something with that. That's really cool.
Hmm. Yeah, I hadn't thought about like comparing the eye colors like that, but now that you've really laid that out, like that's got to be intentional, and that's really cool.
I'm not patting myself. I don't mean to pat myself on the back when I say this, but thank God I gave this a second read, or you would have never gotten that.
No, it's fantastic, and you're right. There is just a lot of shots of their eyes, um, so I would imagine they were probably thinking that.
Yeah. And with all that talk about in their letters at the start, or their forwards, about reflection, they're
Mhm.
just thinking a lot about like the world reflecting through people's eyes. And
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Um, no, that's really cool. Also with what was I gonna say with that?
I'm sorry I derailed us.
No, 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 it's okay. It's okay. I did a second ago, but I lost it. Sorry.
No, you're good. I
uh, Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. Hopefully, you'll think of it. We should mention real quick because we've been kind of all over the place and we've given a lot of the story so far. But we should mention
Mhm.
just the history that Kate has with our bad guy
Yeah.
and why she's after him and all of that. So you can kind of break that down real quick for us, Austin.
Yeah, so she is a reporter that was looking into the serial killer and then almost became one of his victims, but managed to get away. And now has like at least some form of brain damage from lack of oxygen from almost being drowned. And she's chasing him now to the Amazon to kind of bring him down. And her editor was like, don't go after this guy. Like he almost died. You can't do it. She's just consumed with revenge, and is very focused on like I have to get him. I have to be the one that gets him, and that's kind of her background. And for those who haven't read it, like when I say brain damage, it's not like she's just kind of out of it. It's more like she'll just be like prone to like sickness or like hallucinations or passing out, things like that. Like it's more just like a physical drain on her.
I'm glad you spelled that out because I didn't even with two reads correlate those two things. I
Mhm.
think I might have even bought the throwing up and almost passing out and all of that even without the explanation of the lack of oxygen, almost going brain dead when you're drowning thing. I thought that was there just to again make drowning sound like the worst way to go.
Mhm.
And you're absolutely right. That must be an explanation for that. And so it's nice that they're covering that. There's a real explanation for why she's reacting the way she is with all of that. But some of the things that she goes through are intense enough that I might have bought it anyway.
Well, I think it helps too that when we're introduced to her, again, it's she's having a nightmare of drowning, and we kind of open on her underwater being strangled, and then immediately go to her going to this pharmacist that said
She's
like,
trying to get
"Hey,
the
this
medicine.
guy, this guy is here. I think he's the guy you're looking for." And Kate is also going to this pharmacist for medication for that to kind of numb the pain as well on top of it.
And to
So
keep herself
like we're also
awake.
introduced to that. And yeah, and that
Because
too.
she doesn't want to dream and she's trying to make sure that she doesn't miss the serial killer she's trying to find.
Yeah, exactly. No, and that's one of the moments I really like too. There's a lot of just like really small moments, in between uh, the big things, but there's one nice bit where she's watching the creek and she sees a bird try to eat a fish, and she has a breakdown where she's
That's
like,
so good.
you're this fish that very very nearly almost died, and you're just gonna go about your day. You're a
You're
fish.
not
You're
going
not
to
even gonna
remember it.
remember it. Like I'm stuck reliving this for the rest of my life. That's such a great moment.
She's like, I envy you, and you'll get to just go live your fish life. And I like that she's like a little bit quirky about it, the way she's talking. That was the moment where that character came fully alive to me, and then
Mhm,
I was with her the whole rest of the book.
mhm,
And like, not that it had to work that hard to convince me with her. I was already on her side, intrigued by her. But that was the place where you have this with a lot of good protagonists, where there's that moment where they show you who they are and they totally come alive and they become that
mhm.
character that when they do things you can say, oh, that's so this person. And that's what you're always
Yeah.
after as a fiction writer, is creating a character that's unique enough that when they make a choice or they do an action, the reader will say, "Oh, that's so Kate," and he gives us that, or they give us that, within the first 15-20 pages.
Yeah, exactly. Well, especially, with the kind of revenge plot and like the trauma thing, especially now, that could have felt so tropey and so like been there, done that.
Absolutely.
Um, Especially for like the way in which this is kind of like a soft reboot, not in is the the usual way of it's just a remake of the original, because this kind of isn't anything like the original movie plot wise, but like you are kind of following similar things uh, that you get in some of those, just especially in horror. You know, like you look at like the Halloween trilogy we just got, where like the scientist here is almost like Laurie Strode in that, where he was injured by this thing 30 years ago, and he's like, I'm gonna get it. You know, I'm consumed by my revenge for this. You know, evil dies tonight, and
Yeah,
they take it in a completely different direction.
I yeah, that's right. And I really like that you have like a midpoint character that had a trauma in his own past about a fire.
Mhm.
I where and he's talking about kind of letting bygones be bygones when you're dealing with forces of nature, and when it what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And he says these events don't define you. And I Kate comes back with, well, what I dealt with is not a force of nature, it was a man, and it's a like thing that you can like quantify and go up to and stop and make sure he never does this again. And I like the um I I like the distinction it makes
Yeah,
between that. And of
absolutely.
course the creature is somewhere between force of nature and person.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think they do a good job of its appearances, where like it will appear like here and there, but still kind of keeps a mysterious kind of feel throughout the book at the same time. Like it never feels like we gotta live with it for too long. Like I think they do a good job at handling that balance.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and especially since it's not going to really be our bad guy.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly,
But I like that
exactly.
it doesn't. That could have been really lame too. Like it
Mhm.
also, because I feel like I've seen this done worse in other things, where it's like the real bad guy or the real monster is a person. But like he is really screwed up and unsettling, and I think this story lives or dies by its ending. Like I do
Mhm.
love this protagonist by the end of it, but and it's super tragic, the direction she goes, but also really understandable. Like I find her totally sympathetic all the way through. And lives or dies by its ending. Like the reason this ultimately works is because of the tragic ending with the human guy, and by human I mean the guy that proves his own humanity by not getting revenge on his white whale, with the creature, and he tragically dies, uh, because of uh, people, kind of acting more like monsters, right? And then
Mhm.
she kind of, I don't want to say she becomes a monster, but she does the more monstrous thing in like in letting the real monster, the villain, Darwin, um like drag her down to her lowest level, and she knows it and she hates herself, like she feels bad for it.
Mhm. What I really like about that moment, especially because again, like the kind of tropey side of it, um, the revenge trope of they can't go through with it when they get there at the end, and we always do the like let's say like she has a gun in this scene,
Yeah.
and she shoots, and then you cut back, and there's like the bullet hole next to the head, and she's like, I couldn't do it, and we fully go through with that, and it's really tragic, and like it subverts that in such a great way, and I really like that as a moment too, where the creature, um,
Well, because Collier taunts her, where he's like
yeah.
you can't do it, you'll never pull the trigger. And then
Mhm.
that's when she goes real carnal. Like when the creature shows up, the actual lagoon creature, and
Mhm.
gives her the opportunity to take him out. That's her big opportunity for change. Like, is she gonna regress to just like taking the book on the terms that it's kind of setting out? The monstrous thing to do is to cold blood kill your enemy, and he drags her to that. Uh,
Mhm.
but again, there's also a part of that that's really understandable to the reader.
Well, 100%. No, and I love how just raw it is, where she shoots
Yeah,
him and then starts like bashing him with the gun too, where
yeah.
it's
She's like, you didn't
just
think
doing
I'd do
all of
it,
this.
and
Mhm,
that's her saying, you didn't think I could be the monster. And
mhm,
so this guy that wants to be the monster has created a monster, at least in her mind in that moment. I'm actually more sympathetic with her than she is to herself by the end of the book.
mhm.
I don't
Yeah, for
actually
sure.
think that she's been dragged down as far as she thinks she has. Like I don't see that character ever killing again. This is not that kind of situation of like once you've killed that, like he's a Batman villain. She's not.
Mhm. No, I think it's more just like it blackens your soul kind of a thing, right? Like
Yeah.
this kind of tarnish will always be on you. Not that you'll necessarily repeat it,
But it
but
says
like
that
you'll
part of the
always live
human
with that.
condition is in all of us too.
Exactly. Like you will always know that you weren't strong enough to not do that.
And I like that the guy that doesn't that wants to kill the creature but ultimately doesn't. I like I also end up buying that too because the circumstances are so different than what happened to her. Like
Mhm.
that is ultimately a lot
Yeah.
closer to that force of nature thing, which is ironic because he looks at the creature and sees the humanity in him. He goes, or at least sees a sympathetic animal. I guess by humanity
Mhm.
I just mean not just straight up force of nature. He
Mhm.
looks at this thing and says, "Oh, he's sad. I can't kill that thing."
Yeah.
He
No,
didn't.
like it's the last of its kind. It will always, have that loneliness within it.
Yeah, when it lashed out at that guy, it was probably in self defense or just fear
Mhm.
or something. The creature didn't maliciously try to drown the guy in trying to find the carnal god creature inside of people like the psycho nutso guy does with her, the Silence of the Lamb level serial killer. And of course,
Mhm.
naturally, he only does it to women.
Oh, of course. Of course. But then you have a parallel with the creature in that way, just in that the creature does have that kind of King Kong like um, attraction to women type thing. Like it's kind of drawn to them, and you have that here with Kate, where it's following her, and then obviously ends up losing that by the end when it sees that she's kind of just as bad as they are.
Yeah, my read on that, and again, I love how mysterious it is. I feel like
Mhm.
you could read this in different potential ways, and I thought you, armed with information about the movie it's based on,
Yeah.
maybe you would know what the proper interpretation was. But me just reading it on its own and taking the context clues that I could from what the creature was doing, I
Mhm.
wasn't sure if there was anything gendered about it, if it was going for her partly just because she's female, or if he sensed like victimhood on people.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you could probably read that as an aspect into it as well. But just like as a franchise, like you do have that kind of it being drawn to women, like
Yeah.
that kind of a
Well, I
thing. You
thought that
have
was the
like,
reason that the protagonist was a woman, and also just because the psychology of the serial killer checks out with that.
mhm. Yeah, for sure. No, the original almost has like
Like
a
he's
love
got he's
triangle.
got his excuse, his crazy "I'm trying to become this god creature" thing. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, I some of it is obviously that carnal primal. I'm getting off on victimizing women. That
Mhm.
power fantasy thing that a lot of serial killers have. That when they go after women.
Yeah, exactly. I know the original movie is almost like a love triangle between like a human couple and the creature.
That's
Um,
weird.
mhm.
I'm excited to see
Not
it.
like literally. I mean, we go way farther with that in the Del Toro Shape of Water movie. which is very inspired by it. But
Oh yeah,
um,
that's right.
there's definitely
I've
a
never seen
degree
that
of
either.
that. It's really good.
So I have a couple questions for you, Austin.
Mhm.
One is, do you have any reservation at all about Creature from the Black Lagoon being flat out said in the story?
No,
I think it works fine in this, but I,
no, I think it
I
works.
wondered if a fan would have a problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably read this and say that's too cheesy. I think it's straddling that line, and I think it works with that. But I also like it just as that reversal of, oh, this is the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Hmm. And then from then on, the creature looks even more sympathetic compared to this guy who alters himself with pieces of the creature that it leaves behind when it basically molts.
Hmm.
Is that a
Yeah,
thing in the
which is
movie that it sheds parts of itself?
no, but I mean that's something you could easily
I buy it.
add to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because
Uh,
it's very lizardy, and like
mhm.
lizards do that.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's an easy reach to get from this kind of character, but no, there's nothing like that. I don't think in any of the movies.
So he turns into that really creepy lizard man guy in real life who like alters his whole body to look like a lizard. And he like forks his tongue. And you ever seen that guy?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I, that's all I could think about when I was reading this. I was like, oh, he turned into that guy.
Oh, it's horrifying.
Like I found out about that for the first time at the Ripley's Believe It or Not museum, and I was like, I do not believe that.
Well, I think too, because the cover for issue 3 that we were looking at a little earlier, where it's the hand and it's got like the bits of human, bits of
Great.
the
Now,
creature.
now you're talking about that cover while I'm looking at 4. Hold on, I'll just dial it
It's
back here.
okay. It's okay.
No, it's got to be
Um,
relevant. Okay, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, like, I assumed when I got this issue that it was just one of those covers that looks cool but probably isn't indicative of the actual issue. So then when that came up, I was like, oh man, no, that just like the twist is right there on the cover. Like it's right there.
Yeah, which is cool because it's not a dead giveaway, but then once you read the issue, you feel like it ought to have been. I I
Exactly.
I looked at that cover. I actually studied that cover for a minute before I started reading it, and I went, it didn't look like the creature had like human fingers before. And so
Mhm.
I was confused, but I thought maybe I just hadn't looked close enough at the creature design.
No, I just assumed it was like a symbolic cover.
And it certainly
The kind of merging of the
works that
two.
way. And then we do it literally.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, and I'm admittedly putting you on the spot when I ask you this,
Yeah.
Austin. So if you don't have like a great breakdown for this stuff, don't feel like you have to do it. But I wanted to ask you what you felt like the big kind of character and thematic differences are when you look at the creature from the Black Lagoon and then Man Thing and then Swamp Thing.
Ooh. What are the big thematic
Now,
differences?
to
Well,
be
first,
fair, the Black Lagoon creature is ultimately more mysterious than the other two because we know a lot more about their like MOs and motivations, right?
yeah, exactly, exactly.
But I do feel like
Well,
all
first
three
of
of those
all,
are real similar, but are distinct in MO maybe. But you know more about them than me, so I wanted to ask you if you could do that.
absolutely. Well, first of all, I think Ram V did a Swamp Thing book, so part of this is also just typecasting. But yeah, no, I mean, you probably have like some sort of line with them, and the Swamp Thing is your more human character, and then it depends on if it's Alan Moore Swamp Thing or pre-Alan Moore Swamp Thing. Where is he the man that becomes the swamp creature, or is he the swamp creature that thinks he's the man but isn't really? Um, but like he is the more human of the three, absolutely. Like in literal, he is a person within him. Either way, and then Man Thing's probably on the other end, where he is a person who's lost his humanity entirely. and is just kind of a blank creature. And then the creature from the Black Lagoon is in the middle, where it's very like of the natural world, um, and isn't like a person, but also isn't mindless. Like it is just an animal. It's like you do have just kind of a line between the three of them.
Yeah, that's kind of where my brain was going with it. And again, I don't know
Mhm.
any of those characters super well, so I didn't know if I was on the right track
Yeah,
with it.
yeah.
But I was kind of surprised by how well of a midpoint the creatures in the Black Lagoon seems to be ideal wise between your Swamp Thing
Mhm.
and your Man Thing. And obviously, those are both characters that are probably it probably takes some inspiration from this. I mean, there's like definitely other monsters that you could probably look at to some degree, but like they're all three, you know, kind of swampish creatures. Like they're out in the, uh, you know, they live out in the woods, and they all look uh, like I said earlier, like they all stand erect. They look like you know, kind of perverse human monster things. But the Black Lagoon creature uh, is some midpoint between nature and man. And then
Mhm.
Swamp Thing is all about the green, is all about nature, and Man Thing literally has man in his name, but is ironically not actually still the guy, which is interesting. But he's like looking into the souls of people, and so he's more about people than he is nature, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, for Man Thing and Swamp Thing, of
There's a
course,
paper
they're
in here somewhere.
100% there's a paper in here. Man Thing and Swamp Thing, of course, also start from man's hubris, and the creature from the Black Lagoon kind of has to suffer from that. And they're
Yeah.
all three, at the end of the day, tragic characters.
Yeah, they're all victims of man's folly to some degree, although the other
Mhm.
two start from mistakes that an actual guy makes.
Mhm.
And then this is more of a natural creature that just has to like figure out how to live with people around him, but
Mhm.
also I like you look at it through the long lens and nature wise, if he is indeed the midpoint between um like water creatures and human beings, then he does
Mhm.
have a more of a connection to man than say uh like a King Kong would.
Mhm. Yeah, and then in terms of, the other Universal monsters, he is, in line with, like your Frankensteins and Wolfmans and whatnot, in that he is like the outsider, the kind of like tragic figure that, like, he isn't at the end of the day the scary one in the same way that the Frankenstein monster isn't, and maybe to a lesser degree the Wolfman isn't, but like they're all kind of victims, put into this place, and uh, you have to suffer for it. You mentioned the letters at the beginning, and I think they specifically mentioned. Oh, well, actually, no. You brought it up. Like the creature from the Black Lagoon isn't the fear of like the other, of the unknown, and like it is very much that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they put it, exactly like that.
Yeah, no, that helped me a lot. Like it was actually,
Mhm.
like I usually don't want ideas spelled out, but since this is based on material I hadn't seen before, it was kind of nice to have that going in. I
Mhm.
Because I probably would have gotten it to some degree, but it is at first really easy to read this as the typical, like you said, outsider thing, and it's more like scary reflection of humanity. But then also, since the creature turns out to be, I don't know, I'm overthinking this, but since the creature turns out to be like more of a victim and just a sad, lonely creature, then we also can see Sorry, I think my cat's over here. Then we can also see our own loneliness and insecurity in him some maybe, and that's probably also part of what we don't want to look at.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's
Like I
why
said, it
you get a
reflects our
lot.
dark side, but like it, I don't know that it actually does. It looks like it does. Now the question is, has it actually been killing anyone? And is the book
Mhm.
totally ambiguous about that? Because at first, on a first read, I thought there was a distinction between these are the people the serial killer has killed, and these are the people that the creature has. And then on a second read, I felt like people were more attributing deaths to the creature that were all probably the serial killers. And so I don't actually know if the creature has murdered anybody. And then my thinking is anytime, like in the lore with this thing as a legend, that anybody's died, it's probably been self defense.
Hmm. Yeah, I think the only times we see it kill anyone is just like the gang members, because we have the serial killers working with like a cartel type group, and so there is like a
Right.
self-defense thing. That's kind of all we see with him killing people. Outside of that, he's just existing.
Well, and do you think it shows up at the end? Because I think that all of this is intentionally and effectively ambiguous. But do you think that it shows up at the end to to actually full on try to protect her?
Yeah, yeah, no, I think so. I think at that point it is, and then once it kind of gets a better look into the soul, if you will, of this person, it realizes like, oh, you're just like they are. I have no real interest in you. I'm just gonna
Like,
go about my way.
if this thing has existed for uh a lot longer than it should have been able to live, like hundreds of years, maybe even thousands of years, like however old this thing is it possible that it's actually a mystical creature?
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting.
And could
We
it
don't really
could it
go
be
into
that
the
and the missing link
background.
at the same time? I don't know, but like if it's a magical creature in some way, then
Mhm.
that leads even more credence to the idea that it's drawn to victims and is trying to save them. Where like there's this sixth
Mhm.
sense that it has, where it just knows what has happened to her instinctively
Mhm.
and is
Well,
going
that's
to
the
make
neat
sure that
thing
that doesn't happen to her.
with the serial killer, where he like he views it as a god and doesn't refer to it as a natural being. It is a god that I'm trying to be like.
Yeah. You know who he reminded me of? And I said earlier
Uh,
he's what were you gonna say?
no, no, I was just I was just gonna say who.
I I think you were gonna make a joke. I
No.
earlier I mentioned that he's the Batman villain, and she by the end does not feel like she should be thrown into Arkham Asylum. It's interesting that this is Dan Waters, and you can see I his style going backwards with the nutso villain that also disturbingly alters his own body in the first arc of Batman Dark Patterns.
I had the
Um,
Wound Man.
yeah, but speaking of Batman villains, he reminded me a little bit of I can't remember his name, but the villain in Sword of Azrael that puts on the Batman costume and is like reinterpreting Batman, trying to be Batman.
Oh, okay, I haven't read that. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. I thought you had, but yeah, go back and look at this at some point. Well, no, you must have because we read it
No, it's not
when we
in
did
that
Nightfall.
Nightfall trade.
You skipped it. Okay, because I think maybe I talked about it some, but you didn't actually get to talk about it. That's what happened. It's been
Yeah,
like 3 or 4 years now, but
I think you maybe mentioned that issue, but I think Kareem and I just read the like the big Nightfall trade, which doesn't have that.
yeah, no, it's actually a whole 3 or 4 part miniseries.
Oh, okay.
That's Denny O'Neil. It's actually really important because it
Hmm.
establishes Jean Paul Valley becoming knife or becoming Azrael in the first place. Like it's basically his origin.
Hmm. Freaking DC.
I know that should have
Never,
been there.
never printing
I'm
everything
not
that
giving
should
you
be
crap
in
for not
the.
having read it. I forgot all about that, but
Mhm.
but anyway, there were flashes of that in this. But yeah, it was weird how
Okay,
much I kept
that's
thinking of Batman stuff.
yeah. No, I mean Batman. Batman could meet creature from the Black Lagoon. Doesn't just have to be Aquaman.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Anyway, we're past an hour. I had a weird amount of things to say about this. What else did you want to go to that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, I'm glad because I was worried when I like finally settled on this. I was like, I hope it's not just work for Cap. Like, I hope it's not like, I don't know why you made me read this.
Well, I'll admit I was a little concerned it might be like that, but I did not have that with it. I thought it was quite excellent storytelling
Oh, okay,
and
cool.
really easy to sink my teeth into and analyze. Like on a second read, that's what I was excited about. Where I was like, oh, I could sit down and write for 2 hours about this easy. Like,
Yeah, and because I remember when this came out, month to month, I got to issue 4 and I was like, oh, that's kind of just it. Like, I don't know. Like, it feels like we hit issue 4, like we have to end it now. I did not have that on a reread. I was like, oh, okay, fully see the characters have reached like the end of their arcs and like how this all connects. Like I feel like once I had all the pieces, like I could see how it fit a lot better than I
I know
did
you
month
don't
to
like this
month.
term, but this is graphic novel before it's miniseries. Like it really wants to be read as a story, and it's
Mhm,
really tightly knit like that.
mhm.
And again, like yeah, if you want to make a modern one, just do this, like movie
Mhm.
wise. I loved the
Yeah.
story. I kind of just wish this was like, and you can imagine this is a big screen thriller, right? Like,
Mhm. Oh, and it would be cheap too. Well, I
yeah,
know James Wan is now remaking it. Who knows if that'll happen? Because we keep trying to remake this and it never happens. Uh, but yeah, like this is kind of all you need to do.
of course it's one because he made Aquaman, so he's got to do the water one.
Exactly. Well, and he merged his studio with Blumhouse, so it'll be Blumhouse in his studio making
Oh,
this.
weird. Okay.
So
Well, I hope he doesn't try to go
hopefully
too
it's cool.
big with it.
Yeah, one because and I mentioned to you off camera, John Carpenter almost remade this in the '80s, or maybe no, I guess it would have been the '90s.
And that would
And
have been the right guy for it.
oh, he would have been perfect. But his thing that he was going to do is like they go to the Amazon and they find like this ancient civilization, which was this group of the Gillmen, and then it's just kind of like the last one. So it's like this creature living in a lost society basically,
Oh.
and like that would have been cool too.
Yeah, based on just this, what I would not want would be a whole lot of like background and lore and telling us exactly what this creature is and where it comes from.
Hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely.
You'd want to avoid
Uh,
that. What's
mhm.
cool about it is, and again, I'm just basing this on this this comic thing I read as a sequel to a movie I've never seen. It's so weird, but it it feels like it has a lot of distinct characteristics
Mhm.
where it feels like somebody understands where this came from and how it got here and what exactly the rules are and what it can do. Like it doesn't feel like it can just do whatever you want it to do in the moment. It feels real specific and narrow, but
Mhm.
it's so mysterious. You'll never know exactly what it is. But it's somehow
Mhm.
like not generic and not like broad and can Richard Lester do whatever it wants to. It's crazy.
Mhm. No, and I think it helps, and this goes back to back then. But yeah, you have just one of the coolest movie monster designs like of all time.
Yeah, it's
And
really
it's
original.
so unique, and yeah, exactly. Like it's very you instantly know what it is, or like what when something else is an homage to it, like you can instantly tell, like, oh yeah, it's Creature from the Black Lagoon.
And it looks like a thing that would freak you out if you found it out in the middle of the woods in the dark. And
Oh,
like,
100%.
you know,
You'd want to throw a rock at it.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
no, there's one full page spread in particular. I think it's when I'll scroll back for a second because I think it was when the guy that it hurt his face like almost kills it. Yeah, it's maybe it's that shop, maybe it's a different shop, but there was a place somewhere where I was like just looking hard at the design of it, like the scales and everything, and I was like, it sort of look, even though it's like walking erect like a man, it looks like a small animal that is enlarged. So it's like if you saw a gigantic spider, you would lose your freaking mind. Like it feels like that. And I had this uh the sudden realization of why it's scary.
Hmm.
Because I've never really thought of the creature from the Black Lagoon as really a scary design before. And then like when I really looked hard at it, I was like, no, if I met that thing, that would freak me the hell out.
Yeah, especially like in the dark and like the Amazon
Yeah.
come out of the water. Like, yeah, no.
So like in that way, just as an idea, it is scarier than like your generic Bigfoot monster or something like that. Like it
Mhm.
is one of those, but I also think that I'm just creeped out more by scales than I am hair.
That makes sense.
You know, like this
No, and
bothers me more than like or what I'm saying, like if you actually found it, right? I'm not saying I'm scared looking at it right now. I'm just saying like if I was out, out around a real one,
you're like, oh, I can't even look at this.
ah, it probably like I'll never read Killer Croc the same again. That's all I'm saying. But this versus like a werewolf,
Mhm.
I think this is scarier than that.
Mhm. Well, I've always said I think the creature from the Black Lagoon is the best designed universal monster. Like it's just got such a unique look all its own, and
Yeah.
it's just such a cool design. And I should mention too, while we're talking about that, see, I'll probably talk about this more in the movie, so I can get all the names right. But it was a woman who designed the creature from the Black Lagoon, and she gets Bob canned, where
What?
somebody else just took credit for it for like years.
So when they make the new one, they're gonna have to say with her,
Yeah, exactly.
with whoever that is.
Exactly, a design with her.
Well, we should make sure we actually have her name when we do the movie.
Yeah. No, I didn't think to look that up again because I
Oh,
didn't
that's all
think it
right.
would come up. But I'll make sure to get that locked in when we talk about the movie.
I just realized I
'Cause
forgot
it's a
to.
really sad story.
Also, I just realized I forgot to move my million Batman '89s from behind me from when I did in another '89 commentary last night. It's like I got to take those down. Forgot about that.
Oh, it's all hanging out. Maybe the creature is, in the sewer in Batman Returns when
Oh,
he's going to go fight Penguin.
maybe so.
It could be. I
There
mean,
is an odd amount of Batman in this, or at least just atmospherically, like
mhm.
feels like it could absolutely be that kind of a story. But I like Batman
Mhm.
stories like that, where he's
Yeah. When Tim Burton specifically is like, I would guarantee a fan of this movie. Or just this thing in general.
yeah.
Obviously, he hasn't read this book. He's never read a comic, but he's a fan of Creature from the Black Lagoon, I'm sure.
But you could see a detective arc like this.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's basically Dark Patterns.
Yeah,
It's this kind of a detective story, but with Batman.
yeah. I got to keep going with that. I've only read that first arc so far.
Hmm.
I just bought 11 last week. I just haven't caught up yet.
Oh, I must have forgotten to get 11 because I don't think I have that one. I didn't
Yeah,
realize it came out last week,
that
so I
just
must
that
have forgotten to order that.
that's okay because I forgot to buy Absolute 13, and so I had to order that today because my shop's out of it.
No. Oh no.
And I thought about trying to go to a couple other shops tomorrow, and then I remembered, oh wait, it's the first appearance of that Catwoman suit, so everybody's going to be after that, and it's going to immediately probably climb to 20 or 30 bucks. So like, I better
Yeah.
order it while it's still close to cover. So I had to pay for shipping. So I bought a couple of other books with it so I could get cheaper shipping.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not too bad then.
So I'm stacking some Space Ghost because I'm still missing some Space Ghost. So I bought a couple of those from the same seller.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not interesting to anybody, but I thought you might care. But that's that's what happened. Dan's Den. This sounds really interesting. Yeah, it's really thoughtfully done.
Yeah, I definitely recommend, like, if you're
It's good character
listening to
piece.
this or watching this and you think like I haven't read this, but I'm interested in it, like check out this line. Like they're all really cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely more interested in this line
Mhm.
after reading this. But it was kind of less the genre and more of the storytelling for me.
No, that makes perfect sense. That makes
Which is
perfect sense.
the writer brain in me and the critic brain in me just like lit up reading this. Where I was like, writing 101. This is how it's done. Everybody look at this, kids.
Yeah.
Do it like that. And that kind of thing makes. I don't care what the genre is. That kind of thing just makes me happy.
But then also, like this and Frankenstein are like the sci-fi ones of the two. So like you also have
Yeah.
that too. So it's like a little bit more in your wheelhouse than some of these other ones are. I
I
guess and
guess.
Invisible Man
I
as
don't know
well.
how sci-fi. Well, Invisible Man more so. I don't know how sci-fi this is because it's like, I I guess because it's like there's not really any technology involved in it though, right? Like it's just nature stuff.
Yeah. It's more, and you'll see this more when we get to the movie. It's more, because the other ones, were like the 30s and 40s,
I
and then
think
this is the
technically you still have to
50s.
say the genre is fantasy. I think technically, just because we're
Mhm.
saying we're reinventing reality to say there is this fantastic creature that exists in the real world that wasn't created by anything man did. And so there's no
Mhm.
what if statement there, so it can't be science fiction.
Well, you do like if you look at it as like the missing link type. We found this, being of nature that like we discovered. Like
Yeah,
that's and
yeah,
where
yeah, I
it's like
guess so.
sci-fi, but that like Creature from the Black Lagoon is very much like it's got some of the Universal monster like trappings, in terms of some of the themes, but it's also very clearly made in the middle of the 50s where we're doing like all the like the big sci-fi horror, boom of the 50s.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff is, uh, allegory and responding to Cold War. And
Hmm.
this surprisingly doesn't do any of that. Like it could have easily been smaller Godzilla.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's really surprising there's no nuclear testing that has anything to do with like shocking in that era.
I don't know, kidding, eh? That's always what's made me wish that we could have had that every decade, where it's like, what is the 60s equivalent of this, where you take some of those Universal monster themes and apply it to things that were, in other horror properties in the 60s or the 70s or, the 80s, like if you were to have kept doing that.
Yeah.
But
You could do a really cool 80s materialism version of Invisible Man.
yeah,
Or like
absolutely.
you could make it like a cosmetic thing. You could make it like I would almost gender flip it and do Invisible Woman in the 80s and make it like you know Madonna Material Girl thing, and like the tragedy is while trying to keep herself young or making herself look perfect, she accidentally becomes invisible and nobody can see her. Like that's what I would do with that.
Mhm. I mean, that's better than the Invisible Woman movie they made, and I like that movie, but that's
Oh, I
just
didn't
a
know that
pure
was a thing.
comedy. The Invisible Man series is
I'm just
the
making up a
strangest
pitch
thing.
here in the moment, and I realize
Uh,
that sort of
yeah.
sounds like the crappy Catwoman villain, but I could do it better.
No, the Invisible Man series is the strangest thing because you have Invisible Woman, which is just like a pure comedy, and then
I didn't
Invisible
know that
Agent,
existed.
which is like a
Invisible what?
spy. Invisible Agent, which is a spy World War II movie where we drop an Invisible Man behind enemy lines. It's
Now we're
yeah,
getting too
it's
far away from the premise.
yeah, basically just an excuse to have an invisible person.
Yeah, that sounds like a bad TV premise. Where you go, look,
This is like later in, yeah.
where you go, because that sounds like an episodic like 70s or 80s adventure series where the pitch to the TV studio is, look, all the action scenes are real cheap.
Yeah. Exactly.
We don't even have to pay the actor as much because every time he's invisible, he's not on screen.
Well, that's especially funny because those are like the big, spectacle, like special effects showcases. But you can tell when they start getting cheaper when it just becomes actors will walk around talking to nothing. Like, well, I mean, yeah, you can do that.
Now we're getting to like an Adventures of Superman sort of plays.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because if you don't know, Cap, like all of these are like very burnt out, and then these are the last three movies where like everything else like burned out years ago, and like we're just done with that. And then these last three just kind of squeak out.
I didn't know that.
hmm
Yeah, I'm just not real familiar with the history. This is just never been my thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I'll use that to awkwardly segue into my pick for next time. Now, it'll be 3 weeks because we're going to have Spooky Mania for the next couple weeks. So it'll be a little bit before we get back to comics at all. We're actually going to take a break from comics entirely, which is going to be really weird with new books because that means we're not going to talk about any pulls for the next couple of weeks. So I know there's a few people that will be very upset with me about that, but it's the only way manias work. Anyway, so I'm gonna pick something for next time that is not really in either of our wheelhouses because it's a thing I have read a little bit of, but I'm not like a super fan, and I've only read a few issues, and you've never looked at this before, and I'm actually gonna keep it in Image, which is interesting because if you pick Skybound and Transformers next time, that means that we will have 3 Image books in a row, and that has never happened on this show. In the history of Geekvolution, I don't think we've ever reviewed 3 Image books in a row. And what was the thing that we picked even before this? Well, I did a DC thing last time. And then what was your pick before that?
Oh, what was my pick before?
I don't know why I can't remember it.
Yeah, I'm blanking on it. I can't remember offhand.
Well, I don't think it was Image or Skybound, though.
I don't think so, no.
Anyway, so next time, and I'll have to look into how many issues it is. It's probably 5 or 6. But we're going to do the first arc, or the first, at least, trade length a set of The Darkness.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I'm going to keep it in Image Horror. We'll do The Darkness. So get ready for more Spawn done better than Spawn and at like the same time and by the same company, with somehow even more like TNA than Spawn has. There's a lot of that in this book. Get ready for that. But it's a really cool, interesting premise, and I've always loved his design. And these days, more people know about that from video games than comics, but that does start in, I don't know, 93 or 94. And right around the same time as Witchblade, and then it crosses with Witchblade.
Yeah, I'm excited to check that out.
He just looks like a Witchblade character. Like, he looks like male Witchblade.
Oh, it also just hit me. My last pick was that Dark Horse AVP mini.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, and I was remembering that before the show. That's why I thought that we'd done something kind of tangentially related to these next few, because that's also Indie House and it's sort of horror stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, The Darkness. Anyway, so I'm excited to look at these again. It's been a while.
Does he believe in a thing called love?
Sure. Oh, and then my pick even before that was Resurrection Man, which is not too outside of.
That's right.
Some of this stuff.
I should get a pass on picking Funeral for a Friend in October. We've done like a couple.
I guess I just wish I'd done those in reverse order. I wish I'd done Resurrection Man in October.
That's okay.
Because that's a better Halloween pick.
Mm-hmm. That's okay. We'll do The Darkness, like November 4th or whatever.
That'll be fun. I'm curious to see what you think of that.
Yeah, I'm interested to check it out because I know nothing about The Darkness outside of they made games and he's got those like 2 tentacle-y things in the games, and I assume they're just like that in the comics and they eat things.
Well, and it is Garth Ennis. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't even know that. Okay, cool. Well, I
Yeah,
like Ennis. So.
I don't know how long he stays on it.
Hmm.
I I assume quite a while. I have the first 15.
Okay, cool.
We're not gonna read all of that, but I've got that. I've got that much of it, and then some of the second volume. I think I don't know why I own that much Darkness. I haven't read all of even what I have, but
You're just the world's biggest Darkness fan.
yeah, apparently I'm a fan of the Darkness. Oh, real quick. Speaking of that, for the longest time, I thought it was the creature from the Black Lagoon,
Oh yeah,
and then when I saw the title,
that's
I was like,
fair.
"Oh, it's just Creature from the Black Lagoon."
Well, I remember when I was a kid, they had like Black Lagoon books and like Scholastic book fairs where it was like whatever from the Black Lagoon, and I always just thought like Creature from the Black Lagoon was just a part of that. I was like, it's one of them.
Oh yeah, that was kind of like parody stuff where they were.
I'm actually not sure. It's been so long since since I've read that stuff, so like it
If
might be.
memory serves, that was. I could be wrong about this because I never read them, but I seem to recall that being in a similar vein as like, I my teacher is an alien and that kind of stuff,
Oh yes, yeah, probably.
and
Probably
like
even has my teacher from the Black Lagoon. Like,
yeah, and where they just have a different mundane thing in the title, and so it would like be like parodies, but it's not actually related in any way to this.
mhm. Yeah, exactly.
Dan's Dan, the three creature from the Black Lagoon films are Cold War era sci-fi films in comparison to Dracula and Frankenstein. Yeah, but if radiation doesn't create it, that's just shocking to me. But I've not actually watched
Yeah,
the
it's kind of a
movie,
big thing it's
so
missing of that. Yeah.
so I am curious to see in what way that might feel like a response to Cold War, because like it is indisputably that era, but is
Mhm,
it at all influenced? Does it at all watch like it's influenced by the fact that is happening? That's my question.
mhm. Yeah, for sure. Well, and it's the same year as Godzilla.
Is it 54?
Hmm.
That's also interesting. Yeah, I'm telling you, it
Yeah,
could have just
yeah.
been a mini Godzilla.
Give us Creature versus Godzilla. Steps on him.
Yeah, but I feel like you immediately have to contrive some way to make the creature gigantic.
No, it'll just be like that old was it Adult Swim bumper where it's Godzilla versus Bambi, and just Bambi standing there. And...
Well, I think what would be really funny. We'll finish up. What I think would be really funny is if the creature, just from my stupid interpretation of this, which everyone should not listen to at all. I've not even seen the movie. I have no credibility on this. But I think it would be funny if the creature sensed a traumatic backstory for Godzilla and just followed it around because it was sad for Godzilla. It's like it has to save Godzilla because Godzilla's a victim
Mhm.
of uh, Cold War radiation.
That'd be awesome. I'd read that.
Nicholas Bodo, that is true. This comic is actually very recent. That's why it says
Yeah, it's from last year.
2024 in the title. Is very recent.
Oh,
I'm just messing with you. I just thought that was a really funny comment right as we're wrapping up.
and now that we've done this, tomorrow they will announce the next Skybound Universal Monster book. They'll finally announce Wolfman tomorrow.
No, they'll announce a sequel to this. One of two things will
I hope
happen.
so.
They'll either announce the next Skybound book tomorrow, or they'll announce, or we'll get like uh, more information about the movie that's supposed to be made.
Hmm. Yeah, it'll be one of the two.
We'll get like a release date or something. Like that's what'll happen.
Hmm. We'll
If
get.
there's not
Turns
one
out it's
already.
already filmed.
Yeah, we get a
Yeah,
trailer tomorrow. Turns out they showed it at Comic Con or whatever the event was that was this weekend.
Mhm.
What was
Yeah,
this
New York
weekend? Was
Comic
it New
Con.
York? Yeah. I'm actually going to have to look and see how much information came out of it that I need to talk about in Captain Logan show because I've heard about a few things like the Wonder Man trailer dropped and there's a couple comic thing like I mean, I guess I'll talk about this tomorrow night on the comic show, but like they announced Absolute Catwoman. Like there's a few things.
Hmm. Yeah, Joshua Williamson's doing Iron Man.
Oh, I didn't hear about
Craziness.
that.
Hmm.
Or maybe you told me
No,
about it.
I'm excited. Yeah, I think I maybe sent it to you, but like, it's an easy thing to forget. And I definitely didn't send you the like announcement art that came with it. I think I just said Williamson's doing Iron Man.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Hmm.
Well, he's done a lot for Superman.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That seems like
Yeah,
a
I wonder
good.
if that means his Superman book is coming to a close.
Well, he's had 30 something issues on it, so I mean he's had a fair run.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. No, he's been on it for quite a bit.
I so it's funny. New folks are coming in and want to just bring us back to the review. Unshelled pity. Every version of the movies, these creatures seem to be aggressors of the R word. Sorry, I'm trying to appropriately. Everybody tries to do that. Yes, I just wonder why. Like they want to evolve into more human beings. Well, I mean, the the way the comic dealt with this is he's like some midpoint between an ancient creature and a human being, but I don't know that it reads like some kind of uh a metaphor for like uh like a slow person. Like I don't see that in it
Yeah, I don't know.
with this
Nicholas Bodo.
specifically.
Nicholas Bodo also asked before we head out,
Yeah,
what's my favorite of the Universal Monster Skybound books? Ah, um, it
we just
might.
analyzed the crap out of this. You can't tell me it's not this. I'm just kidding.
So
I haven't read the other ones. I don't know how they are.
this is definitely up there. It's definitely up there. It's probably either this or Frankenstein. And I didn't want to do Frankenstein because that's one where we would like really need to look at the movie, I would think, before covering it. Or at least I feel like it would work better. But I don't know, probably between those two. And then I really like Dracula and The Mummy. I was more mixed on, but just in the way that I just kind of always am about The Mummy. But it also ended like really, really well. So like,
Oh, okay.
that's also a good book.
You just want a Brendan Fraser continuation in comics. Like you want that.
I mean, that's also Universal. Like, they could do it. Who knows?
You'd read that.
Yeah, I mean, I loved those movies as a kid. I haven't seen them in over a decade at this point,
I
but
don't know why. I'm imagining really bad art.
I'll just do like full '90s art.
Yeah, just go with 90s art.
Just Iron Liefeld.
Just make it look like
It's
Power
Image.
Rangers. Just make it look like some of the really bad like movie adaptations that we got in the 90s.
I just hire Liefeld. He comes like the Mummy walks out and he's got that big Captain America chest.
Yeah.
Instead of wrappings, he's like wrapped up in pouches.
Well, I was gonna say Brendan Fraser would have so many pouches,
Oh yeah, well yeah, there you
and
go.
he'd
There
have
you
like
go.
big ass guns when he never
Yeah,
did before, but now he's got like Gatling guns. And
you'd have like a cyborg guy.
anyway, we're gonna get going. Thanks for watching, everybody. We sure appreciate it. Darkness for next time. So read some of that if you have a way to read it. And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan. This was Austin the Day Ghost. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching.